time to get weird. Ohio State plays Oregon for the second time this year, but also much more on the line this time around. Quarterfinal of the college football playoff at the Rose Bowl. I'm Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik. That's Andrew Gillis. These are outrageous predictions. Andrew, we'll start with you. What's your outrageous prediction?
If you go listen to our podcast, we just did a whole song and dance about this individual.
Oh my God, we're all going to pick Jeremiah Smith things, aren't we?
Jeremiah Smith is going to go for 203 scores against Oregon. I think they're going to feed this man the ball. Look, Jeremiah Smith's awesome. But one of the things that I think is fundamentally different about this Ohio State team compared to October 12th Ohio State team is that when we went into that Ohio State game in October, there was a couple drives in that game where we were like, God, why aren't they running the ball? What are they doing? And fans are texting us and fans are tweeting, fans are doing all that stuff. You're not going to do that this time around. Not just because I don't know if it's your best use of time, but I don't think you have the facilities for that anymore. Josh Simmons is not available. Seth McLaughlin is not available. Jordan Birch for Oregon is going to play. That dude's really good. Like the run game has to be a very particular run game for Ohio State. So I think the numbers are going to get artificially inflated a little bit. But Jeremiah Smith, we saw him play really well against Oregon the first time. And I think we're going to see more of the same here. I think, especially when you get to the red area, when you get to the red zone, like this is the time for Jeremiah Smith to ball out. I don't know how much Ohio State's going to run it in those areas. So Jeremiah Smith, I think, is going to have his best game of the season. I think there is going to be a real we see it every day, the kind of these jaw-dropping moments. We see it every week. Not everybody sees these jaw-dropping moments against Michigan State. I think we are going to get some of those moments in the Rose Bowl.
His career high is 119 against Western Michigan on 5 catches and a touchdown on 6 targets. His career high against ranked opponents is against Tennessee, his last game. He had 6 catches on 7 targets for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. His career high in targets so far, it's also the only game he's had more than 8 targets, was against Oregon. He had 9 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown on 13 targets. If you had not gone first, I was going to go the route of Jeremiah Smith's going to have 15-plus targets. Simply because, they did it last time. So it's not like they ignored Jeremiah Smith last time. It's just they'll probably build on it more to maybe be more effective with it. Stefan, what's your outrageous prediction?
Yeah, I guess this kind of goes, a little bit in line with Jeremiah, but not entirely. It's not going to sound outrageous because Ohio State's best in the Big Ten in terms of sacks allowed. They allow less than 1 sack per game. But on the flip side, Oregon is best in the Big Ten in sacks per game. They get about 3+ per game. Their defensive line is healthy. It's a different version of the defensive line that Ohio State saw. And Ohio State's offensive line is much worse from where it was October 12th, especially in terms of health. However, my outrageous prediction is going to be that Ohio State is not going to allow a sack in this game. Chip Kelly has showed in that Tennessee game and has shown, multiple times this season that he could scheme around issues on the offensive line. He can scheme this offense in a way that even earlier this year when they were healthy, teams were not going to get a chance to get a sack because they were going to get the ball out quick, get the ball to their weapons, whether it be a run, whether it be a pass, the ball is out quick. I expect we see that throughout the rest of the games that Ohio State has left to play, depending on how long this playoff run goes, of scheming around the issues on this offensive line. I don't think Oregon's going to get a sack in this game, not because of anything Oregon does, but because of what Ohio State does. Will Howard might face a little bit of pressure, but not to the extent where I think he gets sacked. Ohio State's going to do their part to make sure there's not a lot of negative plays in this game. So I think they're going to keep Will Howard upright. I think this Oregon defensive line is outstanding. I think this Ohio State offensive line is an issue. But I think the scheme is going to be good enough in a way where Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Buka, Carnell Tate, the running backs are going to get the ball out, get the ball in their hands quick, and there's not going to be opportunities for Oregon to get Will Howard down behind the line of scrimmage.
He's been sacked 10 times this year. 3 of those came against Penn State. And the other 2 top 5 games they played during the regular season, Indiana got him once. Oregon got him once. Tennessee didn't get him at all as a playoff game. So it's 2.
Tennessee did come close. There was the face mask that was probably going to be a sack. But
Right. Right. So they're the only ones who got home. It's just a flag took it off of the board in that situation. So the issues with the offensive line have never been about the pass protection. It's been about the run game, which is weird because you would think it'd be the other way around, where run game is easier than having the pass pro. Because in run blocking, you're attacking, while in pass pro, you're literally protecting somebody else. So I had a lot of ways I wanted to go with this. I thought about leaning into maybe Denzel Burke just had the worst game of his career and he's not going to have that again. And maybe we see the other way around. And so I thought about giving him 2 picks. I thought about Dylan Gabriel has less than 150 passing yards. He's only had less than 200 one other time this year, and it's against Maryland. Last time he played Ohio State, he had his second most yards of the season, 341. The only time he's had more yards was against Idaho, and he had 380 in the first game of the season. But I'm going to lean into the Will Howard conversation. You went sacks. I'm going to go total yardage. Will Howard's going to have 400 total yards on Wednesday. He has not his season high is 339, which he had against Oregon the last time they played. He had 326 passing yards and 13 rushing yards. I think they started to unlock him against Tennessee, 311 passing yards, 37 rushing yards, which is his season high as well. So we're here now. We're in shoot all the bullets, throw the gun in the holster with your quarterback. Using your quarterback as a throwing threat, which if he's going to be what he was against Tennessee, okay, that's the new Will Howard, where he's on like that. But also being the run threat that they brought him here to be. I understand why for the first 12 games they didn't run it. They didn't need to when they had a really elite offensive line. And a lot of the reason they needed him was in those QB sneak situations. Well, now you need him to show his athleticism against really good defensive lines, whether it's Tennessee, whether it's Oregon, or whether it's if they play Texas, if they beat Oregon and Texas beats Arizona State. It's a good chance. There is a pathway to Ohio State winning a national championship where they play 4 of the nation's 15 best defensive lines. Very easily with Tennessee, Oregon, maybe Texas, Georgia, Penn State on the other side of that thing, Notre Dame on the other side of that thing, very easily 4 of the top 15 defensive lines in the country. While also every day in practice, he goes against one of the top 15 defensive lines in practice. So they're going to need him to run, and they're going to need him to be on in the passing game. So whether that's 350 pass, 50 run, I don't think it's going to be 200 and 200. That's a video game thing to do. But you understand, 300 and 100.
Not Lamar, but it's...
Yeah, he's not Lamar. But what I'm saying, he's going to need to be both. And that's the point I'm trying to prove here. He is a dual threat quarterback, and they're going to need him to be a dual threat quarterback. And that might be throwing a bunch of haymakers to keep up's the wrong word, to beat a team who can also throw haymakers. And if he has 400 total yards, he probably outplayed Dylan Gabriel in the process. Because Dylan Gabriel in that game had 341 passing yards, and he had 32 rushing yards. So he poked at 400 total yards. So that might be what it takes for the quarterback to win this game on either side of things. So I'm saying Will Howard. You're saying he doesn't get sacked? Good. That helps me because that means he doesn't have negative yards. You're saying Jeremiah Smith has 200 plus receiving yards, Andrew? Good, because you know who gets those passing yards? 18. Both of you are helping me out very much, which is why I went this route. Will Howard, 400 total yards between passing and rushing the football, maybe even a receiving yard. I mean, he caught his own pass last game. Why not do it again? Get the text, 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Those are our outrageous predictions for Ohio State, Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. We'll see you after the game.